The Max Verstappen Paradox. A section of the F1 community is finding it hard to give Max Verstappen the credit he deserves. The car gets all the credit, or the lack of competition is making it easy for him on the grid, and even his team's perfect execution all the time are reasons for them to diminish the great performance he's showing. To me, this leads to a paradox that I'll try to explain in this video. Dre Harrison, writer for WTF1, recently wrote about the Max Verstappen dominance and how it's remarkable. After his win at the Spain Grand Prix, Verstappen looks to be unstoppable. His ability to navigate the track and the skills required to maintain his lead has been impressive. Despite this success not being the first time that a driver wins that much, Harrison feels that this dominant period hits different than the dominance Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher had. Le Mans winner Richard Bradley believes that Verstappen still needs to prove himself in the F1 world. He believes that Verstappen needs to show more consistency in order to truly establish himself as an F1 great. Bradley also believes that Verstappen needs to prove himself against other competitors, as he's often the only one on track that can keep up with him. He claims that Verstappen never won a race in inferior machinery. However, there's no denying the impressive talent that Max Verstappen possesses and the potential he has to become an F1 great. As Verstappen continues to dominate, it'll be interesting to see if he can prove his greatness and rise up to the challenge that the F1 world has put in front of him. I'm Wimbo, here's 5 seconds to leave a like. Collective Confusement. It seems to me that some of the pundits and content creators and the fans they have are a little confused about how they feel about dominance in F1. For years, Max Verstappen wasn't good enough because he crashed too often. People were easy to forget that Verstappen was a teenager, wanting a little bit too much at times, and that was actually a very normal process drivers go through. Some of them will stay crashers throughout their history. Then, when Verstappen became consistent in 2019 and was the only one to split up the two dominant Mercedes drivers Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton at the time, people said he wasn't actually all that good because he didn't have any titles. Other drivers already had a title at that age. Then, in 2021, there was no outspoken dominant car. Depending on the track they were racing, either Red Bull or Mercedes had the upper hand. Still, Max Verstappen led the championship comfortably until two incidents in two races caused by Mercedes drivers saw his lead evaporate. And yet, Verstappen kept at it and kept punching in these great performances in a car that was slower the last 4 races. The pressure that he was under didn't seem to slow him down one bit. Lewis Hamilton tried to get into his head by saying Max was going to lose points because he wasn't used to title battles yet. And then he pressed the magic button by himself. Now, I do realize that Max Verstappen was fortunate that Michael Masi had the balls to finish the race on the green conditions rather than letting the race fizzle out. Max won that title, well deserved. Still, that didn't give him the title of a great according to the content creators and the pundits and the fans that follow him. The title was plastic and fake. He needed to win a real one first. Enter 2022. A new set of rules was introduced and Red Bull Racing knocked it out of the park. Their chief technical officer Adrian Newey and his team built a car that didn't purpose or bounce and was pretty quick. Only Ferrari could keep up until a technical directive on behalf of Toto Wolff was handed out, and that saw Ferrari drop off. Max Verstappen won a record-breaking 15 races in 2022. At the start of the season, Red Bull did have reliability problems, and Ferrari was often quicker due to the RB18 being too heavy. Ferrari scored loads of pole positions, and Verstappen had to fight himself up from the back of the grid many times. Did Max Verstappen get credit then? Did he fuck? Because Red Bull made mistakes in the budget cap and went over by a whole 400k. The pundits and the content creators said the wins didn't count and he wasn't one of the greats after all. Enter 2023. Max Verstappen and Red Bull are on their way to another double prize winning season. Verstappen is as dominant as ever and the teams that should be making it difficult for them are all changing their concept. Something they should have done halfway through the last season. But better late than never, eh? So they are just not there yet. Is that something we can pin on Verstappen and Red Bull? No, not really. But I suppose some people wouldn't mind if Red Bull started running their engines in idle mode, just like another team used to do. So, Is he getting credit for winning 6 races? Even starting from P9? Nope. Team rivalry. Max Verstappen is winning his races easy because even within the team he has no competition, according to the experts. Some even go as far as to say that the RB18 and the RB19 are tailored just for Max Verstappen, and poor Checo Perez therefore doesn't stand a chance. Now remember this, Red Bull and Adrian Newey have put Max Verstappen in the computer and the wind tunnel and built a car just for him. This may sound a bit like weird science. Let's just ignore that even Perez admits that the car has a balance now that he prefers. He even says that the updates in 2023 are less radical than the upgrades during the 2022 season, where the car went from understeer to oversteer and he got less and less comfortable. It was he himself that tried to change his driving style to match the driving style of Max Verstappen, because it's just a quicker way of driving. This is what caused the 2 mishaps that Perez had in qualifying and put him on the back foot in the race. So obviously Max Verstappen having a really quick way of driving isn't something you give him credit for, right? Fastest car. Okay, and then now the fastest car debate. Apparently it's not done to give Max Verstappen credit for winning races in the RB19 because that thing is a rocket ship. I'm of the opinion that Max sticking with Red Bull all these years and working closely with Adrian Newey and Pierre Waché and the rest of the team has contributed loads to making that car as fast as it is. Adrian Newey has claimed that Max Verstappen is the perfect F1 driver, and he worked with some of the greatest. Max contributed highly to the package that they have now, way more than Lewis Hamilton contributed on the Mercedes packages he won 6 titles in. I feel that was very much a case of being there at the right time. Michael Schumacher, however, did a lot of organizing to get Ferrari in the dominant state that they were in for so many years. The Verstappen Paradox. So here's the Verstappen Paradox. He doesn't get credits for his wins because he's in the fastest car. He's in the fastest car because it's only built to his driving style, so it shouldn't count because it's the fastest car. And it's the fastest car only because it's built to suit his pointy-nosed driving style. So he wins all the time, and because it's the fastest car on the grid, it doesn't count because the car was only built for him. Do I need to go any further? It's a bit like what happens to Pinocchio when he says, "Now I'm gonna lie." Subscribe. Take care now. Doei doei.